It's all killer, no filler. I'm Eric, and this is the D2C podcast. And today we are coming at you with episode 2 of our newly minted podcast on the D2C Podcast Network in partnership with Pilot House's Director of Retention and Email Marketing. We are launching the world's best email and retention podcast, lovingly known as TWBURP. And on today's All Killer No Filler episode, you can catch episode 2 of this amazing podcast, which we were kind of forced to bring out due to all of the comments that we were getting about people really enjoying Jordan's content. I gotta say, I've enjoyed interviewing Jordan and kind of teasing out a lot of the value that he brings to the table. But since he has started his own podcast, he's getting really like encyclopedic and super clear and concise about what he's trying to do. It's even easier to understand than he is in some of the podcast interviews that we have. So I'm really excited for him in this new format, really excited to share this new podcast with you, the D2C podcast listener. Today's episode is all about how to get the best result out of Black Friday, Cyber Monday when it comes to your emails, how to segment your audience for maximum impact, the surprising truth about customer purchase behavior during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, why SMS is a game changer for inbox competition, as well as tips to turn your Black Friday buyers into repeat customers. You can find it all on episode 2 of TWBURP. And now you will find it on the D2C Podcast Network. This episode on this RSS feed. Please follow the Spotify link below where you can subscribe to TWBURP on its own feed on whatever podcast app that you use. Otherwise, I'd love to hear what you think of this podcast. I have to say, the theme song is probably one of the coolest theme songs I've ever heard and really has me thinking that D2C podcast might need a little update. I love the D2C podcast theme song, but after hearing how fun TWBURP's intro theme song is, my mind is reeling at the possibilities because we did it with AI in about 5 minutes. I don't want to tell anyone, but please let me know what you think of this podcast. Send me an email, eric@directtoconsumer.co. You can also reach Jordan himself at jordan.g@pilothouse.co. We would love to hear some feedback about what you think about this new episode. But for now, please enjoy episode 2 of TWBURP, the world's best email and retention podcast. On with the show.
In the inbox late night, glowing screens see the light. Email, everything feels alright.
If you understand this research, it will change the way you do your subject lines, headlines, and angles in your Black Friday emails. You need to be incredibly constant with your messaging. You're on your 6th Black Friday email and you say, oh my God, can I say this again? 40% off Black Friday as my headline again? Yes. You're not optimizing for your core customer. They're going to buy. You're optimizing for the person who has forgotten about you, sees the email, opens once, and purchases right there. It's the world's best email and retention podcast, and I'm your host, Jordan Gordon. We are a member of the DTC network of podcasts and the philosophical home of the Pilot House email and customer retention team. Today, we're going to talk about Black Friday, Cyber Monday. We've got some excellent performance tips to help things run better, but we're actually going to start with some research. At base, the email channel is a system that sends out some number of messages to your users, and users interact with some number of those messages in a certain way. Very simple way to think about this. Well, we're going to talk about who you can expect to interact with your messages, how often they will interact, and the purchase behavior within those interactions. And that will be, if you understand this research, it will change the way you do your subject lines, headlines, and angles in your Black Friday emails. So it's essential to know this, okay? After that, we will talk about SMS, which is going to be important this year. We'll talk about emails broken down into flows, campaigns, segments. And then after Black Friday is done, we will talk about the importance and just some tips on making sure that these new customers you get from Black Friday become repeat customers. This is the world's best email and retention podcast. So starting with research. I have in past taken my my engaged segment. I mean, we actually use multiple engaged segments. We put them together into one and cloned it and excluded everyone who's ever done an Apple Privacy Open. So we're looking at like pure opens. There's no phony opens in here. Basically, what you're looking at is like Android Plus users, right? Android and whatever else. But Android users open the same way that an iPhone user opens. It's just a click. So we just use that to infer and to estimate. And then we clone that segment again and put a thing in that says, has opened at least one email since November 1st. And what you have there is a numerator and a denominator you can use to calculate the percentage of your users that have opened at least one email in Black Friday or in November. And we'll just call November Black Friday. And then, of course, analyze purchases for those users. And the results are very interesting. The most common set of open events for users in your engaged list is for a user to open one email only. That's the most common event. Someone in your list opens one Black Friday email. It's not the majority of events, it's just the most common. And then the next most common is they open 2 emails. And the next most common is they open 3, all the way down. And there's, hardly anybody is opening like 10 emails. This follows from that, but to confirm it's correct, the most common purchase behavior is, when analyzing purchases and opens, is a user opens one email and purchases from that email. That's the most common thing. It's not the majority, but it's the most common. Hey, entrepreneurs and spammers. In this upcoming section, I'm going to say that the median user in your engaged list will open 15% of your Black Friday emails. This research was done on large clients that send a lot of emails during November. Like, not every day, but most days. If you are sending a more modest number of emails, 10 to 15, I would say that 15% would be more like 20 or 25%, just so you know. Have fun spamming. What about the fact that people do open more than one email? Okay. The median user on your list will open 15% of your Black Friday emails. It's an incredibly small number. By the way, I didn't round either. It's 15. I know it's a round number, but it's true. It's 15% from my research. So what does this mean? And then, of course, within there, some people will, it's most common that they purchase from the first email and then just open some more. And then it's the next most common, they, might purchase from the second open. It's incredibly weighted to someone opens one email and purchases from that email. And after that, it's, you can expect someone to open 15% of your emails. What does that mean? That means you need to be incredibly steady and constant with your messaging. Do not think sequentially. Do not think things like, I've sent so many emails, I need to really change up this message, or people are going to get bored, right? Think about like the person, you're on your 6th Black Friday email and you say, oh my God, can I say this again? Can I just say 40% off Black Friday as my headline again, right? Yes. People who open the 6th email and purchase, they've opened 5, and then they open the 6th and they purchase. This is this is a fraction of your Black Friday purchases. Optimizing for that user is an act of futility. What you want to optimize for is the person who opens that 6th Black Friday email, but it's the first Black Friday email they've opened, right? So not the person who opened email 1, email 2, email 3, email 4, email 5. Oh my God, I have to make email 6 different. We've said the same thing so many times. That person opens email 6 and purchases. That is a fraction of your list. The most common person who will open that email 6 and purchase, it is the first Black Friday email they've seen. And if it's not the first, it's the second. And just assume on the first email, they kind of got an idea of what's going on, but they were blasting through their emails anyway. They're super busy, right? They're in the scroll zone, and they're like half comatose anyway. We've all been there. So do not build that email 6 thinking I have to change up what I'm saying because people are going to get bored of my message. No, the user you want to optimize for is the user that opens one email and purchases, maybe two, and you want to make the core Black Friday message on that email so clear that they purchase on that email. Don't let any fluff and stuff get in the way. Don't be cute, right? The subject line, 30% off Black Friday, right? End soon. The headline, a variation of that. Break down the offer. It's going to seem like, let's say you send 10 or 15 of these messages, it's going to seem crazy to say basically the same thing over and over again, but it's what you have to do if you want to get results. Period. That's kind of interesting, right? You should expect to get 80% of your engaged list to open at least one email over the course of November from the research. So if you think about it this way, when that number reaches half, you can measure this yourself. When half of your users have opened at least one email from Black Friday, sure, start changing up the message if you want to, right? Start being a little more playful with the subject line. But just stick to the party line until you reach 50%. Let's discuss SMS. SMS will be more important this year because of all the changes that have happened with Google, Yahoo, and spam complaint rate, and inboxing. Also, the US is not in recession, but the economy is kind of weird. It's just kind of a weird economy if you follow the macro, right? So there's going to be a lot of competition for the inbox. Every single time you do any kind of big offer, you should be building your SMS list with an early access. Early access lists are killer. When you build your Black Friday early access list, just keep using it over and over and over again. Use it on Cyber Monday, right? Also, interesting aside, people who purchase from Black Friday, don't exclude them from Cyber Monday. They make a lot of purchases from Cyber Monday. It's amazing and true. Don't exclude your Black Friday buyers from Cyber Monday. It's very common for someone to make a repeat purchase within 1 month. It's just common. Anyway, be building your SMS list as you're doing big promotions from now on, right? Because there is increased competition for the inbox. There's increased competition, there's increased volume, and what Gmail and Yahoo have done is shrunk the size of the hole that the emails can go through. Engagement is key. So build that early access SMS list, and you know what? SMS is great as a teaser and to mop things up at the end. Start by letting them know about Black Friday, your core offer. Launch it big with SMS. Do your emails. And at the end, like the last chance through SMS, you're going to get a lot of money through the last chance. What's happening right now out there in the world? First of all, a lot more messages are going to spam than there were a year ago, right? So there's just people that aren't necessarily seeing all the offers. And this is from changes that Gmail and Yahoo have made. And two, stuff that does get through, there's just a lot of it. There's a lot of messages in the inbox. So one, someone might just not really be aware of your offer because there's just so much percent off in their inbox. And two, there are different ways that people interact with channels. Some people hate email and just don't like it. But if you send them an SMS, they'll interact with it. Me personally, I love getting emails. Emails are beautiful. SMS, I hate when someone sends me a marketing SMS. I've never opened it. So considering these two people exist, of course you're going to want to use both channels. SMS is expensive, so use it strategically. Open up with SMS, mop up at the end with SMS. Let's talk about emails. First, flows. This is a lot of repeat from previous discussions, but turn your offers off. Great reason to have your offers in a separate flow, separate reactivation flow, separate funnel flusher flow. You just turn that flow off. Problem solved. And then you will need to make a new welcome email that doesn't have the welcome offer. And you're going to remake it a second version with the Black Friday offer. Okay, then on all of your conversion funnel support, add the Black Friday offer as a banner at the top. And if they click on the banner, send them to a great category page that also has the offer at the top on your website. Remember what we've discussed before. I guess we'll discuss in a second. Every single place someone lands, it's, where am I? What do you want me to do? What's in it for me? So what's in it for me Well, let's go to this now. Subject lines. Then you change the subject lines on all of your funnel support emails to hold the offer. So where am I? What do you want me to do? What's in it for me? What's in it for me is the subject line. The subject line, just do what's in it for me. All people want for Black Friday to know is what is the discount. Don't get cute. Now, when they hit the email, reinforce what's in it for me. Put the offer there. When they hit the site, reinforce what's in it for me. You are going to have way better results. I know it seems obvious, like, do I really need to put this, on that landing page? Yeah, of course you do, right? And then the what do you want me to do becomes the what's in it for me. What do you want me to do? Shop red widgets. Land on the page. Category, red widgets, right? Every single time, the what do you want me to do becomes the where am I. So go in and change your subject lines. Just spell it out. 30% off Black Friday, act now. Whatever it is, make it simple. Campaigns. I have found in my time, and we've discussed this before, that a well-made subject line, actually the biggest effect it has is on the revenue per session. Seems crazy, seems weird. It doesn't have really that much of an effect on open rates because most open rates are full of fake opens anyway, so it doesn't really move the needle. But you're acting at the top, and so you get the most people at the next layer, which is the email, and therefore the most people on the site. I was challenged on this by one of my staff who said, sometimes that's not the case, and we talked through it a bit, and it's like, okay, this is true for launches and sales. Like emails that people are going to be interested in. If it's not a launch or a sale, essentially an open is a random event. Someone just happens to be surfing through and they click on it. If it's not a sale or a launch, because those aren't the bangers, right? So if it's a sale or a launch, and you have a very performance-focused subject line that just shows the offer, tells them what's in it for them, all the way down the line, you're going to improve your results. And then also, if you send to the right people. So I've found the best for your time payoff is the right segmentation, right subject line. Optimizing an email is way more difficult than optimizing a subject line. So spend some time on your segmentation, we'll chat about it in a second, and on your subject lines. And just be monotonous, as we discussed. Insert the offer every time. If there's secondary offers, put them in the preview line. Put the offer over the hero every time. I know there's secondary stuff. We have talked about this before. You need things to freshen up the sale, added to sale, bundles. This is the deal if you get this, this, and this. Increase what someone can save if they spend a lot. Okay, that's valuable to put in. You can lead with it later in the season, a little bit before the big Black Friday if you want. Otherwise, put it below. Put the main offer over the hero every time. Again, like we said, you are not optimizing. Your core customers are going to buy on Black Friday. That's not who you're optimizing for. You're optimizing for that person who bought once 10 months ago, has pretty much forgotten about you, but they're still on your email list. Maybe you aren't even emailing them anymore, and you're going to do a big reach back and an unengaged segment, which, if you don't have an unengaged segment, maybe now's not the best time to start playing around with it. But if you do have unengaged and engaged, you're going to reach back unengaged. You're going to reach these people that have forgotten about you. You want them to be the people who open once and purchase. That's who you're optimizing for. You're not optimizing for your core customer. They're going to buy. You're optimizing for the person who has forgotten about you, sees the email, opens once, and purchases right there. So put the offer over the hero every time. Segments. So take your engaged segment, clone it, and say has placed order at least once over all time. Take your engaged segment, clone it, and say has placed order 0 times over all time. And then what you got is you got your buyer segment and your prospect segment. Most important segmentation action that you can take. Separating your buyers from prospects is the best thing you can do to improve performance because buyers consume more emails than prospects. So if you email your buyers more often than your prospects, you're going to decrease your spam complaint rate. These days, we should consider that we have a spam complaint budget. And so you don't want to waste that budget on prospects because buyers have a higher revenue per email sent. Second, take your engaged segment and clone it and cut the time frame in half and clone it again and double the time frame. Then you've got your kind of a big reach back that we just discussed, a big reach back and a shorter window. But I will caution you, we discussed this in a previous talk. I don't know if you've heard it, but if you are one of those brands that in your Klaviyo, you have a 55% or 60% open rate and a 0.4% click-through rate. Look, there's something wrong. All those opens are Apple privacy opens. They're totally fake because you're not segmenting those out properly. Gmail knows what an Apple privacy open is. They know that you're just sending to people who may not be engaged with you at all, and they can see that you've got this 60% open rate and a 0.4% click-through rate, right? So if you do what I just said and take your engaged segment and cut the window in half, or let's say you go from you do a thing, you go from 90 to 30 or something like that, whatever it is. What you're doing is you're actually pulling out truly engaged people. All of the Apple Privacy Open stuff, it just stays in there. And you're actually worsening your ratio of real openers to false openers. And you're actually making your engagement worse if you shorten the window, if you have this severe problem with your segmentation. So if this is you, if you're this 55 to 60% open rate, 0.4% click-through rate, or something like that, let me just say it's not too late to reach out to someone like us or whoever else. It's not too late to radically improve your segmentation going into Black Friday. And I will say this is the first Black Friday under the new spam complaint regime and kind of, let's just say, inboxing regime of Gmail and Yahoo, and we do not know how tight they're going to be. This is an unknown Black Friday. Hey, we don't even know. We're prepared. We've got plans. We've got contingency plans. We know what we're going to do. And if you are the 55 to 60% open rate and 0.4% click-through rate, you should know what you're going to do if you find that your revenue per campaign just starts going down. So yeah, if that's you, be careful messing with your engagement window. If your current engagement window is working, be careful changing that because you've got all kinds of weird mayhem going on inside there. Anyway, now you've got those segments. You got your buyer prospect. You got some long, short windows you can play with. Good. Optimize throughout the season. Does it make sense to send someone who subscribed once 3 months ago and maybe opened versus someone who has clicked 3 times in the last month? Does it make sense to send those two people the same number of messages? No, of course not. So use these segments we just said to balance it out. Focus on people who are more likely to drive traffic. Focus on people who are more likely to purchase. And send less to people who are more likely to do a spam complaint. And you can study these segments and figure it out for yourself. We have a 12 segment model we use. We've got this broken up, 12 different segments that we use to understand where in your life cycle people are, how they react to messages, and set frequency based on that. So this is absolutely what you need to do to get the most out of your spam complaint budget this year. If you don't know what your spam complaint budget is, I would start investigating right now. Look at your account, see where your spam complaint rate is, watch it over time, and watch how, as it changes over time, your open rate changes over time, and get an understanding of what your budget is. We'll wrap this up. After Black Friday is done, hey, you should create a segment, people who purchased in November, or whatever your window you want to use. Maybe it's November and December, whatever it is. Maybe it's whenever Cyber Monday ends, whatever your window is. People who purchased in there and have placed one order over all time. That's your new buyers you got from Black Friday. This is a cohort. Now, do not do all this stuff. Mess with your flows, give away 30% or whatever of your margin, put all this work into Meta, Facebook, Instagram, you're stuffing all this stuff through TikTok. Don't do all this work to get a buyer who gets almost all your margin off and then walks away. Don't do that. You're spinning your wheels. If you do that in an environment where cost per click and cost per acquisition are increasing, which is probably this environment versus the pandemic, you are running into a brick wall. You need to get lower cost revenue in to improve your P&L. That's the promise of email. That's the promise of customer retention. So get these guys to order again through email or SMS. Go knock on their door if you need to. Make sure as many of them make a second purchase as possible. And so how are we going to do that? We've got a segment, and you would be surprised. You can go in and check your cohorts. You'd be surprised how early the average time to repurchase is for your brand. I told you a lot of people make their first repeat purchase in the same month. So by February, the median person who is going to make a repeat purchase, a second purchase, will have. Unless you're selling like cars or something like that, right? And you can do your investigation to find that time to repurchase. Time to repurchase is a critical metric for customer retention, by the way. You should know your time to repurchase roughly. You should just know that, because that is how you understand when you start driving purchases with discounting, when you start giving your margin away. So let's just say, I'm going to recommend, if all else fails, if you don't know, if you don't have time to investigate because you're an entrepreneur with, this is on the side of your desk, February, okay? February, write them an email. Hey, thanks for purchasing a Black Friday. We're really glad to have you with the brand. We want you to stay with us. And then give them another discount, half of your Black Friday discount. So they came in on a discount, and many of them will be price sensitive. They're new buyers from Black Friday. So just acknowledge that. Just say, look, the idea that they're going to buy again right now, that I'm going to wait for them to buy at full price and hope for the best. Forget that. Just give them another discount. Half the discount, you get more margin. They are a repeat buyer, and you made more from them. So do that. Send a reminder. Get that cohort to make a repeat purchase. And after that, you can, if this makes sense to you, and I think it makes perfect sense, exclude that list from big promotions like Labor Day stuff. And then make a list of people who are Black Friday buyers who have purchased more than once and purchased from that promotion. So now you've got your Black Friday buyers who got 2 discounts. So there's a special cohort. This should be a huge cohort for you, your Black Friday cohort. So you want to pay attention to this cohort. So you know which ones of them haven't made a repeat purchase. Do whatever you get them to make a repeat purchase. And then once and track, make this second segment that tracks if they've purchased from one of these future promotions. They got 2 good deals. Exclude that list from future promotions, and you will, you won't be giving the game away. So after 2 purchases, it's sink or swim. There's your strategy for ensuring you get the most out of this important cohort of buyers. Many brands, it's like half their new buyers, and then here come from Black Friday. You can't just treat them like any other cohort. Well, there you go. We do have some other stuff that I thought about putting here on the list, but we're giving it a try. I don't want to give you stuff that we're testing this year, even though we're sure it's going to work. I'm going to give you stuff that we know has worked previously. And until we meet again, have fun spamming.
In the inbox late night, glowing screens see the light. Email, everything feels alright.
Hey entrepreneurs and spammers, remember, you can't scale without email, and the cheapest customer to acquire is the customer you already have. So please subscribe to the world's best email and retention podcast and learn how to make low-cost revenue a big part of your digital ecosystem.